Welcome to Positive Atheism English channel. In our continuation of knowing the book of Atheism, There is No God, written by Gora, today we will learn about other world. The other world entails a place where the souls that have departed from the respective bodies live. The existence of another world is only a matter of belief and cannot be proved. However, when people first believed in the soul, then logically they needed the other world. There are many opinions as to the status of the soul in other world and the difference between this world and the other. The ideas of heaven and hell, which exist in some theistic societies, are also related to the idea of another world. Because there is a conflict between the qualities attributed to God and directly perceived life experiences, there have been many occasions when belief in God is shaken. That is why the theists who try to somehow support the belief in God maintain that God's complete authority is only in the other world. Their hope was that if they left God's power in that imaginary and unprovable other world, then there would be less scope for the faith in God to be shaken. Although all theists generally believe in God, soul, and other world, due to the fact that there are differences of opinion as to the relationships among them, which cannot be settled by reason, there has been occasion for different sects to be formed among the theists. Because of the belief that all things in nature were God's creation, and also the belief that death means the soul departs from the body, the human desire for truth was satisfied through the theist tradition. Now we shall observe how theism answers the human needs of society and happiness. Moral conduct is the base of social living. Moral conduct means to let go of selfishness and strive for social happiness. If we look at it from a narrow point of view, selfishness appears to be very useful. Therefore, there are many occasions for human beings to become selfish. But if we look at this from a broader perspective, a person will realize that social happiness is more profitable. Thus, selfish outlook on one side and social outlook on the other, each pulls at human conduct in a different direction. However, those who desire greater happiness must suppress their selfishness with self-discipline, become socially conscious, and keep their conduct moral. But even today, there are very few people who have self-discipline. We don't even have to mention about those in ancient times. Unless there is some sort of fear or devoutness present, a person's selfishness is not generally rooted out. Even though people lack self-discipline, but because everyone desires greater happiness, some individuals who had a social outlook laid down ways of morality, and to make sure that everyone in society followed these edicts, they employed beliefs in God, soul, and other world. In every society, people themselves used to formulate some morals and laws depending on the prevailing circumstances. In some contexts, peace and kindness could be the primary moral ideals. If warlike activities were predominant in a society, these morals would not be of much use. They would need morals of cruelty and intrigue with their enemies. Nevertheless, we learned that based on human nature, morals such as love are basic to human civilization. But in the days when society was not very strong, only morals based on circumstances were important. Kings and preachers introduced such morals to their believing public as God's commandments. The public who believed that God is greater implicitly accepted such morals and behaved accordingly. If they gained from acting morally or lost from acting immorally, then people's belief in God become much stronger. In the days when statecraft was not very strong, state law could not keep immoral people under control. As a consequence, only the beliefs implicit in people's ideas could surely turn their conduct around. Towards this end, beliefs in soul and other world assisted the belief in God. These indeed believe that the soul departs from the body at death, that it goes to the other world, and that God exists in it. Thieves believe that if by any chance an immoral man escapes punishment from the state in this world, he cannot escape the overview of God who is watching with 1,000 eyes, and that he will thus reap the consequences of his evil deeds in the other world. In accordance with these beliefs, there is a doctrine among thieves, and in the other world, the soul will obtain a life in hell as punishment for wicked people, and a life in heaven with happiness as a reward for virtuous people. There is also a belief that in order to evaluate man's moral and immoral actions, there are gods and other staff. The anticipation of heavenly pleasures and the fear of punishment in hell can change a man's attitudes many times more than state punishment can. Conduct follows beliefs and attitudes. Therefore, among the people who are committed to the beliefs of gods and soul, the belief in heaven and hell helped to put into practice the social laws that were introduced as God's commandments. The belief in heaven and hell does not figure in all types of theism. Nevertheless, some theists believe that deeds of a person attach themselves to the soul in the form of karma, and the soul is then reborn in accordance with the merits or demerits such as karma. They suppose that life in this world is painful and that happiness consists in an existence devoid of rebirths. They believe that immoral deeds lead to rebirth and the moral path will lead to absence of births or spiritual release. Although there is a difference between these beliefs and the beliefs in heaven and hell, the belief in rebirth corresponds to the beliefs in hell, and belief in release corresponds to the belief in heaven. The belief in karma contributes to social order in this fashion too. Thus, theistic beliefs not only have contributed to accurate human knowledge but also have aided society in adopting moral conduct. How then does theism cause human happiness? Happiness is associated with life's goal and arts. Although man had goals for his actions from time to time, as his imagination grew, he needed goals which encompassed the whole of his life. It was easy to determine such a goal utilizing theistic beliefs. Theists believe that the consequences of our deeds pertain only to the soul and not to the body, and that the karma man has acquired from his previous lives or God's commands prompt us to do various deeds. That's why goals too must pertain only to the soul. If we follow this trend of thought, according to the theist beliefs, the sole aim of life is for each soul to attain heaven or to become free from the body such that there is no rebirth. Moral conduct becomes a mean to achieve just such an aim. Fine arts too played a prominent role in happiness. These arts can thrive in many ways, but the theists, because they were attached to their respective beliefs, adopted God, soul, and the other world as subject matter for their playings and songs, sculptures, and literatures. Many books were written in the name of God. Many plays and songs, sculpture, edifices, and paintings were created. Theism contributed thus to truth, society, and happiness, which are the basis of human life. Human life should have become quite happy as a result. But although theism has dominated human age for some thousands of years, man have not been able to attain happiness and immorality has been on the rise. From time to time in human history, such immorality and unhappiness were growing excessively. At such times, great men of their respective ages such as David, Vardhamana Jaina, Buddha, Confucius, Jesus, Muhammad, Luther, Nanak, Ram Mohan Roy, and Dayananda attempted to ward off immorality and augment morality and happiness. Due to their intellectual powers, bravery, and courage, they pointed to new outlooks and established morality and happiness among men. If we examine their efforts, we can see that they had condemned the theistic beliefs and existed in their times. Although they didn't discard God, soul, or other world, they criticized current beliefs and established new beliefs that were appropriate to human nature. Such changes benefited the subsequent generations greatly. People of later generations venerated these great men as the New Age prophets and have adopted the new morals preached by them. But although they were not atheists, such great men as Jesus, Muhammad, and Ram Mohan Roy, who were venerated by later generations, were persecuted by their contemporaries as heretics. The same individuals that were persecuted as atheists of some sort or other in their own generation were able to bring morality and happiness to the people of succeeding generations. What we can learn from this is that although theism appears to bring happiness to human life, there are some defects in it. It stands in the way of progress in man's life and civilization. That is why, while theism has been condemned by stages from period to period in human history, atheism has grown immediately after and has been contributing to human civilization and happiness. The prophet Jesus, who had been thought to be a heretic in his generation, courageously pushed forward human welfare to some extent. There has been much happiness due to his efforts. Even though he was considered an atheist to some degree, his teachings were not without beliefs in God, soul, and other world, which were part of the theistic tradition. Because of these beliefs, even in the new way of life advocated by the prophet Jesus, selfishness, immorality, and unhappiness seeped in gradually. After many hundreds of years, with the aim of removing immorality, Luther brought forth some reforms in the practice of the way of life proposed by Lord Jesus. For this, Luther was again touched as a heretic by his fellow Christians. Luther's followers underwent a great many tribulations. Nevertheless, human society made another step forward due to the reforms introduced by Luther. Thus, in every society, theism had been condemned by different prophets, atheism had been introduced, and human civilization and happiness were enhanced. Thus, it is clear that there are shortcomings in theism, that they have been exposed from time to time, that although the theistic way of living contributed to man's happiness in the early times, theism is not suitable for human progress overall. That we need only atheism. That human civilization and happiness improve in human society in proportion to the growth of the atheistic attitude, and that there is immorality and unhappiness in proportion to the prevalence of the theistic attitude. However, we should now examine why man has accepted the main principles of theism, which have been so deeply implanted in human society for so long, why we should now adopt atheism fully, and what its benefits are. We shall first look into the shortcomings of theism. Thank you. We will meet in the next episode.
For more videos, please subscribe to this channel Positive Atheism and activate the bell icon.